Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you the Harvest Ascent 180 stand aid. It's an electric stand aid. It has electric leg opening, electric raise and lower. We'll look at the sling in a second. There are many different sling options. I've just chosen one that happens to fit me just so that I can show you obviously how it works. So if we run through the basics of it, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. We obviously have handset control, and I'm just going to operate the legs so you can see those open and close. The fact that it's all electric, one of the benefits of the electric legs is the fact that you don't have to open them fully. So where you have an armchair, for example, and a piece of furniture at the side, you can open the legs wide enough to go around the chair, but not too wide that they start interfering with other furniture. Generally, we only open the legs in order to get a stable base around a piece of equipment. When we're moving the unit, again, generally, we would advise closing the legs because it's easier to move around within a room scenario. There are 4 casters, 2 at the front, which are standard casters, 2 at the rear, which are braked casters. So the brakes on these can be operated by foot or hand. Press it down with your foot, lift it back up and it comes off again. If you want to do it by hand, it's really easy. So there's no risk of trapping fingers in there. You'll also notice these are double casters. The double casters are designed to sink less into a carpet, which means if you're moving a person from wheelchair to armchair, from bed to armchair, armchair to bed, etc., that distance you're moving over the carpet, you're less likely to sink in, and it makes it a little bit easier for care staff to manoeuvre around a property. Coming round to the front here, still staying at the bottom, we have a footplate which is also removable. So for some people, they struggle to stand from a low piece of equipment, a low toilet for example. Once they're actually standing, they're able to walk with a Zimmer frame. They just can't lift themselves off such a low piece of equipment. So we can actually lift off the footplate on this one and stand somebody to the floor. Most of its use will have the footplate on. We'll stand somebody, move them from A to B, and then sit them on a new piece of equipment. So the footplate generally stays in place. If I turn the hoist around so you can see the back, we'll do the back bit first. We have the handset here. There are 4 functions on the handset. The 2 I've already used are the bottom 2 here, and that is for opening and closing the legs. And the top 2 here, again it shows a little picture of a hoist, is for the raise and lower. So one is up and the lower one is down. There is a little battery indicator on there, and that will indicate if the battery gets low. So it's a low battery warning. Following the light, you will also get an audible alarm. So it will beep to tell you the battery's getting low. That's your warning to get it on charge. Now you will get roughly 5 transfers from a beeping hoist. So if it starts to beep when you've just stood somebody up ready to go to the toilet, don't panic. Let them go to the toilet. You'll still have more than enough power to get them back off the toilet and back into their armchair or on the side of the bed. But obviously that's your reminder to put it on charge. As soon as you've finished doing what you're doing, make sure it goes on charge. The charger for this is all built in. So we actually have a plug socket attached underneath here with an extra piece of cable. So we have a safety brake cable in there. If I pull this out, it disconnects itself. It won't damage the hoist, and you're not going to damage your sockets within the building if you plug it in. Plug that back in to reattach it, and we can plug it in to charge. Now what we'll have underneath here, we have 2 lights. One says on and one says charge. If I plug this in now, I will get 2 lights on. The first will tell me there's power to the hoist, on. The second, charge light, will tell me that the hoist is actually receiving charge and the battery is actually accepting it. The emergency stop button above here, if I operate the hoist in any direction, in this case up, and hit the emergency stop, it will deactivate all functions of the hoist. Now, if I then try and plug this in to charge it, what I will get is an on light to tell me there's power, but I won't get the charge light, because the hoist won't allow the power in and through to the battery because it thinks it's in emergency mode. It thinks something major's gone wrong. All you need to do is switch the hoist back on, plug it back into charge. You'll get both lights to tell you it's plugged in, getting power and charging the batteries at the same time. The other thing that we have on the back here it says emergency underneath the emergency stop button. It says emergency and there's a little hole with a down arrow. If you take a standard biro pen, pop it into the little hole and push, the hoist will lower itself. That's there in case you've damaged the handset, if you've dropped it, run over it, if you've smashed it, if you're in a client's own private home and their dog's chewed it to pieces, you can still get somebody down regardless. There's another function as well. If I turn the hoist back around again for you, if I turn it around this way, you'll see this little red disc at the top of the actuator, the bit that's doing the lifting. So if I lift the hoist up, you'll see this moving. The little button I've just used with my pen only works when there's power. So if I was to disconnect the battery, there would be no power in the hoist and the hoist wouldn't lower down, even with that emergency. So your final option is this manual override, which is just literally a twist, and you'll see the hoist as I twist that coming down. That's the final, last chance to get somebody back into their chair and safe if everything on the rear of the hoist was to fail, or if you take the battery off. If you do need to take the battery off, and we can supply separate chargers for these, so we can have spare batteries and desktop chargers, the battery is removable. There's a little clip inside there and it just clicks back on again. So if you have spare batteries, we can take a low battery off, put a fresh battery on, use this hoist whilst the battery's recharging and just keep swapping them over. We'll tend to do that more often than not in certain care homes and certainly in hospitals where these could be in use 24 hours a day. As standard, it comes with, as I said before, the plug-in charger, so it all has the charger built into the hoist itself. If I turn the hoist around this way, just to show you the knee pad, the shin block or knee pad, this is adjustable for angle, so it will adjust itself as somebody pushes their legs against there. If their legs aren't straight, it will adjust to the correct angle of the leg. If I pull this lever out here, I can move that forward and backwards. If I undo this one at the back here, let's swap my hands around so you can see it. If I undo this one, then we can adjust the height of the knee pad. What we also have on the side here are two little attachment points, one on either side, and these are for a calf strap. My opinion is that calf straps shouldn't really be used on this piece of equipment because the person using it is able to stand, but they need a bit more assistance than a caregiver can give them. So the hoist is going to do the job for them. You will get occasionally people that have a quick spasm and one leg will spasm out. That's when you start to need those calf straps. You shouldn't be using the calf strap as a restraint. It should just be there as a safety feature. So it's available if you need it. It doesn't come as standard because it's very rare that you will actually use one. At the top here, we have two different loop options. So the two different hooks on either side, and they're options for standing somebody in order to get them in a good position. Generally, we'll always use the longest ones at the end here. The shorter version here tends to be when we're standing smaller people or children, or we're not standing them. We could just be getting them into a perch position in order to remove clothing, maybe to go onto a commode. So we don't actually necessarily need to get somebody fully standing. And then just at the back there, you've got your push handles. These are just obviously for care staff to manoeuvre it around. Okay, so we've skipped a bit. I'm now sat in the chair, I have a sling fitted. I'm not going to run through the sling today because there are so many different options and different sizes of slings. This is more about making sure you're happy with how to use the actual hoist itself. So I've got the knee pad set up, it's below the knee. Now, one common misconception with this type of hoist is that you must have this knee pad below the knee joint. It's a good idea to do that because the knee's a moving joint and we're going to stand and therefore it needs to move. However, for some people, especially some quite elderly people, if they've got weak joints, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, etc., if you block below the knee, when they're being forced into this knee pad to stand up, it can cause movement in that knee joint and that can cause a lot of pain. So for some people, actually raising this up and having it on the knee to stop that movement is actually a better option for them. Generally we start below, which I've done here. I'm going to attach the sling, in my case, always to these top ones. I'm 6 foot tall, and these bottom loops here won't get me into a fully standing position, but I will show you in a second what that looks like. Use the shortest loop that's available to you. And by that I mean if this was a bit further away and I couldn't stretch to the white loop, I would go the orange one. If I can't stretch to the orange, then I go for the red, etc. So choose the shortest loop that's available that you can actually attach on quite easily. If a person can lean forward for you, and again we're talking about people that generally can stand, they might be able to do that for you. The first thing we're going to do before we ask somebody to hold on to here is make sure their arms are on the outside, and we're going to raise the hoist until it's just level or just slightly above the shoulder. It's not doing any lifting yet. Now if we ask the person to hold on, they will hold on outside onto the bar here and with the other hand on this side. And if you'll notice, that now means my wrist is in complete neutral position. If I lower this back down again and try and hold on, my wrist ends up being twisted or in an uncomfortable position. And if I try and pull, it's going to hurt my wrist over time. So raise it first to level or just above the shoulders, then the person can hold on. Holding on is also optional. It's another myth that you must hold on to a stand aid when you're standing. I'm standing using my legs, not my hands. So if I was paralysed down one side on one arm, I could hold on with one hand and not the other, vice versa. But I don't need to hold on at all if I don't want to. So I'll hold on with one hand because I'm going to use the other one for controlling the hoist. Now, as I start to feel the sling pulling on me, I need to push back with my legs. So I need to activate the stand and keep my body upright. I'm not leaning back into it, but more importantly, I'm not leaning forward with it. I'm just going to keep my body upright and push with my legs as if I'm trying to stand. If I don't push with my legs, what will happen is you will start to get this drag lift. And if you see this on any patients, any residents, any clients, you should stop using this immediately and ask for a new assessment. So I'm just going to go back down and do this properly so I can readjust the sling slightly. Let's lower this back to where it should have been. Sit upright, push with my legs. Now it's not giving me a drag lift underneath the arms. I can hold on if I want to, but I don't really need to because all the effort is coming through my legs here as I'm pushing. It will get me up into a standing position here, and I can lock the knees out if I want to. Another thing to bear in mind though with a stand aid is we don't necessarily need to stand somebody. So quite often we'll see people, care staff are trying to stand them into this sort of position and their legs and their body just won't take it. But actually they're quite happy, let's say in this position. It's when their legs start to go too straight that they have a problem. This is more than enough to do a transfer. If we're only using a stand aid to transfer somebody from A to B, we just need to clear the bottom from the chair. I could take my trousers down, we could bring a commode in and I can go to the toilet. So don't stand somebody fully if they don't need to be stood. And we'll just lower down again maintaining that pressure with my legs. So the person, remember this is a stand aid. It's not to do it for them, it's to assist them into standing. Once we lower it down, we can then take this off and remove the stand aid. In this case, I'm going to just show you very quickly what it looks like on the lower loop. So if I can lean forward, it's going to help me attach, but I'm still not going to get the white one. So in this case, I'm going to use the orange because it's the closest one that I can attach safely. Same rules apply. Bring the bar to just above the shoulders and hold on there if you want to. Maintain an upright body position, so don't go backwards, don't go forwards, and push through your legs when you start to feel it pulling. And you'll notice this one now, if I take it right to the top, if I was a 10-year-old child, it would probably stand me up. Because I'm not, it won't ever get me standing. But if all I need is to remove clothing to go to the toilet or to get a transfer and move the chair out of the way and bring a commode behind me, then that's all I need to do. I don't necessarily need to go up into full standing. The other benefit with doing this one is it does pull you a little bit more forward than upwards. So it's a little bit more natural in the way that it tries to stand you. even though it is a machine that's doing the work. So they're your two options. For most people, always use the longest one. You've got more options if you need to get them fully stood. If you have somebody that's too short for this and it's starting to lift them onto their tiptoes, drop the loops down to this second one that I've just done there. Once we're finished, we'll take that off. The hoist would normally then, we'll remove the brakes and move the hoist out of the way. In my case, I've done this on my own, so I don't have a carer. And that's basically how to use the Ascent 180 stand aid. So if you have any questions, contact details will be coming up after this. Please feel free to give us a call, drop us an email, and we'll answer any queries you've got. Thanks for watching.